Well, Gary, finished Arsenal 2, Leeds United 1. It was 2-0 at half-time to Arsenal. We thought they were home and hosed, but what a finish that was.
It was incredible, and it's real credit to Leeds in terms of the determination to stay in the game, because at half-time you felt it could go to 4 or 5 at one stage. Leeds down to 10 men, Arsenal was so comfortable, so dominant. But as much as people might criticise Leeds in terms of their ability, I don't think you could ever question their character. And they were driven on by their supporters who never stopped singing. They got that goal from a set piece. Arsenal's normally so controlled at set piece, only conceded 1 goal a season from a corner. And the game changed. Arsenal got a little bit nervous, showed maybe their inexperience because they are such a young team. But to Arteta's delight, and certainly to all the Arsenal fans here, they got over the line.
Absolutely. We'll come back to Arsenal in a moment. Just on Leeds, you said about them showing that, that determination to fight back from, considering they had 10 men after Luke Ayling was sent off. In the 27 minutes, a long time to go with 10 men, and also the fact that they pulled the goal back, having been 2-0 down at half-time. How optimistic would you be of their chances then of staying up this season? I'm sure the supporters are feeling a lot better after seeing that performance there today. Yeah,
they will be, in terms of how quickly it unfolded for them. Meslier making a ridiculous mistake to give Arsenal the lead early on, and then the captain, a 2-footed challenge. It's just, when you need your experience, your leaders in your change room, it's going to be a difficult enough game coming here anyway, and I don't think many people would have given Leeds much of a chance, the type of form that Arsenal would have been in. But had they had the 11 men, they could have got something out of the game. I look at the situation now in terms of the teams down the bottom. We know Everton won today. You were hoping Leeds could have done something to take advantage of the fact that Burnley dropped points. So I still think all 3 of those teams are still in it. Leeds have been clawed back into it again when they looked like they were in a good position. But I think they're in a better position now under Jesse Marsch in terms of how organised they are, how they can stay in the game. I've seen them at times this season against Watford away. They're under pressure second half in that game. It was tightly balanced at the time. They stayed in the game, stayed behind the goal, and then comfortably saw it out. So that bodes well for them. They're learning how to compete at this level and not to give the game up so easily as they were doing under Bielsa. Certain players are coming back. Phillips was there again today. It was a difficult task for him because I thought Arsenal were magnificent in midfield today. But him being back will add to it. You hope that Cooper can recover from his injury. Whether or not Bamford comes back remains to be seen, because he's such an important player considering the amount of goals he got from last season in the Premier League. So he's been a huge miss. But listen, with 3 games to go, I've been in this situation, anything can happen, and it's still all to play for.
And just quickly on Bamford, he's been out for so long this season. It's one of the big reasons for why they're in the position that they're in, because they didn't have a real goal scorer to replace him. They've kind of, tipped along without somebody like that. But for a player like Bamford, we're told he could be back training this week and perhaps maybe playing the last 3 games. That's yet to be seen for sure. But how hard could it be for him to come back and try and start scoring goals immediately, because we know strikers are all about confidence and form? Or is he kind of thinking, 3 matches to play, the weather's great, I'm going out to play on these lovely surfaces, and then that just somehow...
I think as a player, certainly, he's looking at his teammates and the struggles that have been happening. He'd be desperate to get back out there, and I think he'd be the type of player that would sacrifice himself. He's done that already this season. He knew he wasn't quite right. He played the game, it didn't work out. But he might be in a situation now for these remaining 3 games that he might be able to just give you half an hour, and that could be the difference. Jesse Marsch sets his team up more defensive than Bielsa, so they stay in the game. They managed to do against all odds today, didn't they? The deficit was only 1 goal in the end. So I hope that he can just contribute to the last 3 games of the season, and he may well make the difference.
Then on Arsenal, they've consolidated that 4th position. They're just a point behind Chelsea. Who would have thought that after yesterday's draw that they had against Wolves at Stamford Bridge? There's 4 points between Arsenal and Tottenham in 5th place, and of course the 2 sides meet here, at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Thursday night. We'll come to that in a moment. But just looking at the Arsenal team there today, there's a number of players you're kind of looking at. Maybe Saka didn't perform to his best. Odegaard was okay. Martinelli perhaps didn't fire on all cylinders this afternoon. Are you a little bit concerned maybe going into a big game like Tottenham?
No, I'm not. And Steve, I will contradict you there, because in terms of the kind of showboating style, maybe those 3 players didn't do what they've been doing in recent weeks. But what they did do was contribute in terms of how the game was affected. Odegaard, I thought, was magnificent at number 10, not just in terms of his creativity, looking after the ball and relieving a little bit of the pressure when he needed to, but he's the first line of that press. He goes hunting down people. He's a leader in this team at such a young age. He's a credit to himself at the moment. I think Arteta and certainly Arsenal fans know just how important he is. Saka's a constant for it. As a fullback, you can never switch off with him. He's coming short. How often do we see in that opening 20 minutes when they blitz Leeds that he's coming short, spinning in behind, and suddenly Arsenal win on goal? Martinelli likewise on the other side. So I wasn't surprised that they took him off with about 20 minutes to go just to protect him. What is going to be a massive game against Tottenham on Thursday. But these are guys who are contributing to a team now, and what they're doing more than I've ever seen since I've been at Arsenal the last 5 or 6 seasons is they're bringing the crowd with them. This crowd loves this team in a way that they have not really liked the team of the previous 2 or 3 seasons. And I think Arteta's done a brilliant job in terms of getting rid of all the deadwood. And I mean that disrespectfully, respectfully, sorry. But ultimately, there's too many players in the Arsenal squad who were not at the level required for Arsenal to be back challenging in the top 4 position, consistency-wise. Now, I know you may well counter that by saying this is a young Arsenal team, so they're going to be inconsistent. But they're inconsistent trying to do the right things with a great attitude, whereas the previous teams, I didn't believe they did that. I think Arteta's done great, but I think it's still a lot to do, even though they've got that 4-point cushion. I think Tottenham will be a tougher nut to crack, certainly, than Leeds were today.
And again, before we move on to Tottenham, just a quick mention of today's goal scorer, Eddie Nketiah. A double for him, following up the double from Chelsea at Stamford Bridge there a couple of weeks ago. They won 4-2. What is he doing differently now with his game, do you think? Why is it to do with confidence? Is he getting into better positions? What have you seen?
I think ultimately it's just playing regularly and having that confidence that you're going to start the next game. If you're coming in for 1 game here and then you're out for another 10 games, it's hard to get any momentum, any real confidence in how the team plays. I think now, because of the fact that Arteta has played him regularly, we're seeing a different. He looks stronger as well, doesn't he?
Definitely.
He's stretching the line, he's running in behind. How he closes centre halves down, I knew that anyway, and fullbacks. How quickly
he's holding off centre backs as well, I noticed.
He was so quick on Nketiah to sniff that goal out. I mean, it's a mistake by the goalkeeper, don't get me wrong, but nevertheless, he never gave him a moment's peace. And I think he's a confident young man now, and he looks like he's really added another dimension to this Arsenal team in the fact that he can run in behind in a way that Lacazette maybe doesn't do.
So Tottenham will be buzzing after last night, 1-1 away to Anfield. They've really put the kibosh, well, perhaps not the kibosh on Liverpool's title chances, but they've given them a huge amount of problems in that title race. But as I said, they'll be confident after that, and they're confident under Conte. They're not bullied. They've got that counter-attacking, the options with Son and Kane. They're just like such a hard team to play now, and Arsenal won't exactly be, I suppose, expecting a victory when they go over there. It's going to be tough for them.
Arsenal going into that game with confidence, of course they are, but they're missing Ben White, they're missing Tierney at the back as well, so that makes a massive difference. So suddenly you're taking people out of the game. Now, the back four done really well today, but they weren't under little or no pressure. That's going to completely change against Tottenham. Son, Kane all the time, and it's the kind of presence that them type of guys have that you feel nervous just by being in and around them. Now, Conte's a master technician. He'll have looked at Arsenal, he'll have identified where the weaknesses are. There's so many positives about Arsenal, but that Tottenham team is far superior to this Leeds one. I think it's a massive challenge. It's a massive game in that Arsenal have that 4-point cushion. Tottenham win that game, bring it down to 1 point. Then you're looking at the 2 remaining fixtures for both clubs. Tottenham's on paper now. I know it doesn't work like that. I'm experienced enough to know that. But Tottenham's looks far easier than Arsenal's does.
Yeah.
What a game that will be on Thursday.
Yeah, absolutely will. Good feeling now, Gary. Well, I suppose even to take it back to the start of the season, did you even think that Arsenal would be in this position of getting into a top 4 position in Champions League football for next season?
I do believe Arsenal should be around the top 4, but the reality is that I felt the top 4 squads were far superior to Arsenal. Now let's not forget, Arsenal finished 8th for the last 2 seasons. A lot of the quality, supposed quality, was leaving. They didn't have Europe, which was a massive bonus for them in terms of Arteta getting on the coaching field with these young players and showing the rest of the guys how he wanted to play. But what it does do, not being in Europe, it leaves a dent in your financial capability in terms of enticing other players to you. They've took advantage of Arsenal. They've took advantage of the fact that Man United have been so woeful. They've took advantage of the fact that Leicester haven't been in and around that challenging also. Now they have to make sure that with 3 games to go, they take advantage of it, because this Arsenal team, because it's so young, will have peaks and troughs. They cannot have a dip now in the remainder of the season. It just cannot happen, because if they do, Tottenham will take advantage.
Will we be hearing the famous Champions League anthem here next season?
Well, listen, this is what this stadium was built for, wasn't it? And I think the fact that it's been 5 seasons without it has been too long. I think if it went to a 6th season, Arsenal never been out of the top 4 in terms of that type of thing since 1973, 1979. So it's a long time. Arsenal needs to be back in the Champions League. But likewise, Tottenham fans will be saying the same about their magnificent stadium.
Thanks, Gary.
Cheers, mate.